Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome to a reading vlog. I am so excited for this vlog because I am starting a new series on my channel called TBR Take Down. Now this is not an original idea. Basically the gist of it is to read down my physical TBR. So I can't remember how many, like 180 or so physical TBR books. This does not include all of my TBR books that are on my Kindle, just my physical books. And I have seen a lot of booktubers do a read it down type of thing. So my series is called TBR Take Down, and I'm just going to be doing these vlogs periodically and pick 3 books from my TBR and kind of have like a theme. And so for the theme for this one is books that I know nothing about. So these are books that I've had on my shelves for a while, and I genuinely cannot tell you a single thing about them. Whether they were gifted to me or I somehow got them in like a mystery box or just along the way throughout the years. I just don't know what these books are about, and so I decided to pick 3 of the books off my shelf that I don't know anything and read them and see if I actually enjoy it. And I actually haven't gone into a book absolutely knowing nothing in a very long time, probably since like I first became a reader when I was like 13. So this will be kind of exciting to see how that is again. But yes, let me show you the books that I'm planning on reading for this video. So the first one on the stack that I just grabbed randomly is Endymion Spring by Matthew Skelton. I believe I bought like a mystery box from Half Price Books one time a few years ago, and I think this was in it. Other than that, that's my only guess because I have no idea where I would have picked this one up. I don't, once again, know anything about it. Obviously, all of these books I don't know anything about. But based on the cover, it looks fantasy. So I'm gonna guess that it's fantasy, and based on the size, I'm gonna guess young adult fantasy. So we will see. Also, Endymion, I have no idea if that's actually how it's pronounced. Once again, I know nothing. The next book I got when I went to Katie from Katie's Book Nook's house in Boston last year, and I like picked up random books that she was getting rid of, and that is The Night We Burned by S.F. Kosa. I have no idea, but based on the cover, I'm gonna assume that this might be like a thriller, maybe a mystery type of thing. I do like the cover because you do see like the forest, and then obviously it's like burning on the edges, so it's a pretty intriguing cover. I think this might be the biggest of the 3, but yeah, we'll see. And the third book I plan on completing in this vlog is Merlin, Book 1, The Lost Years, and this is by T.A. Barron. And once again, based on the cover and based on what I know of Merlin, I'm gonna guess that this is fantasy. I don't know if it's middle grade or if it's young adult. I'll read it and find out. This one, once again, I know nothing about, but because it is titled Merlin, I have a feeling that it's about Merlin and like maybe it's about Arthurian legend. But I also know nothing about Arthurian legend, so that really doesn't help me at all. But yeah, this one's relatively short as well, so we'll find out what it's about. The funny thing is, when I first started this vlog, I picked up a book this morning, and it was a book I was like, I know nothing about this, and it'll be the first book I read. And that book was The Shadow Throne by Jennifer A. Nielsen, and this one looks fantasy as well. And I started reading it, short chapters, loving it. I got like 18 pages in, and I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. And I looked, and the back says, The Stunning Conclusion to the Ascendance Trilogy. So, this is the 3rd book, so I could not read it, but I think that just, like, shows you that I absolutely know nothing, because I literally picked up the 3rd book thinking it was the 1st book. But yes, so these are the 3 that I'm going to read. I'm gonna rank them just based on vibes and the cover and what I feel about them. So I think coming in 3rd, we're gonna go with Endymion Spring. I can't tell you why, because I don't know. And then I think I'm going to go with Merlin, The Lost Years. I'm putting the 2 fantasy at the bottom just because I'm kind of not a fantasy reader. And then The Night We Burned, because if it is a thriller and mystery, I'm hoping that I really enjoyed it. So this is the rating that the ranking I am assuming I'll read, but we'll see once I go through them. But the first one I'm going to pick up is Merlin, The Lost Years. I just feel like I'm going to go through this one really quickly. I can't tell you how many pages are in each book. So this one has 326 pages. I feel like it'll go by like fast. This one is, I don't want to get spoiled. This one is 342 pages, so a little bit bigger. And then Endymion Spring is, this one's pretty floppy. That's pretty cool. This one is 389. Oh, so this one's actually the biggest, but like, look at that. Okay, maybe. But yeah, so I'm gonna get started with that, and I will update you when I have thoughts or when I start to understand what things are about. Okay, hi, hello. I have an update on the lost years for you. So I am like almost halfway. I am on page 141, and I can kind of tell you what it's about now. So at the beginning of the story, we follow a boy who has washed up on a beach, and he has no memory of his home, his parents, or even his name. He has no idea who he is or where he comes from. And then a little bit later, we are like 5 years into the future. Well, it's not the future, it's like the present. So 5 years have passed since he washed up on this beach, and he lives with this woman that washed up on the beach with him, and she says he's his mother, but he just feels like that's not right, and he still doesn't know where he came from or who he is, but he has started discovering that he has these kind of magical powers, and so he gets the idea that he really needs to find out who he is and what he can do, so he goes out and sets out on an adventure to find out who he is and about his past. So what I didn't realize at first is this is a 12-book series. 12 books. I am halfway through the first one, and I think that this is extremely slow. And now that I know that there's 12 books in this series, I understand why it's slow, because this is probably like just the major setup for the entire rest of the series. So this is fantasy middle grade, and because of it being so slow and such a long series, it is so boring. Like, I am really bored. I was falling asleep reading it. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's not bad, and I feel like if I was intrigued and interested, I would be like, yeah, 12 books. But I am so bored, and I am not gonna let this video stop me from DNFing. Like, who knows, I might DNF all of these books, but I have decided halfway through that I am gonna DNF this, because there's no point in me reading the rest of this if I'm already bored, and I'm not gonna read the rest of the series because it is a giant series. So it's not bad, but I just know that it's mediocre, so I don't feel like I need to continue. So starting off strong, but the next book I'm going to continue, I have high hopes for, which I don't know why, because I still have no idea what it's about, but I'm going to start The Night We Burned by S.F. Kosa, and once I start reading this and I get a little bit of the ways in, I can check in and tell you what it's about. But yes, this one is like 342 pages, about there, so hopefully it is a quick read, and I will let you know when I know something. Okay, so update, I started reading The Night We Burned today. I just got home from work, and I read so much today. I'm over halfway now, so I'm on page 190. I read all of that today, and I am loving this. So I can tell you a little bit about what it's about now that I'm 190 pages in. So this is actually a cult book, and I love cult books. I love looking up cults and researching them. They're very fascinating for me. I have a psychology degree, so like the psychology of cults is really fascinating. So this book is actually in alternating timelines, and it goes between, like, each chapter is a different timeline. So the first timeline we are in is set in 1999, and we are following this young teenager, and she gets swept up in a cult. And then on the other hand, we are now in present day, and this cult is now infamous. Several people died, like dozens of people died, and one of the girls that escaped the cult and survived is trying to run away from her past and not be found out, but she works for a online magazine, and the online magazine is now investigating this cult and recent murders that have cropped up, and she is trying to do everything she can to like alter the facts so that they don't find out that she was a part of this as well. I am loving this. Like, it is really, really fascinating. It is kind of slower paced, but I find that in like thrillers, I don't really mind if they're slower paced or fast paced, because like if I'm intrigued, it doesn't matter what the pace is going. I just really like it. I really like the alternating chapters. Like, present and past are both super fascinating to me, and I'm just really interested to see like how we end up at this like big penultimate event that happens, because we know it happens, but we don't know like how they got there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to find out. But yeah, I was worried because after the first DNF, I was worried that I was going to hate every book, but I'm really enjoying this, and I'm really glad that I have a copy now. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it ends. This weekend I am traveling, so hopefully I will be able to finish this, because I don't get back home until Monday. It is now Friday, so we'll see how much reading I get done. But yeah, so far so good. Alright, so I'm about to go to work, but I figured I would film this update because last night I finished The Night We Burned by SF Kosa. Now I know I kind of already told you what this is about, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you better since I have read it now. So sorry if it sounds a bit repetitive, but we follow Dora Rodriguez, and Dora works as an online fact checker for an online magazine. So that's really cool because we get to see kind of her research into this job, especially because the case they're following is very interesting. So this book is actually told into two different timelines. One of the timelines is the year 2000, and the other timeline is the present year 2021. So in the year 2000, we follow Dora as she is kind of getting recruited by this cult. She is living on the street and she really has nowhere to go, and she's just very vulnerable, and she meets these people that are very nice, so she finally has food, shelter, and warm clothing, and it just kind of goes off from there, and you see the cult progress. And at the beginning of the story, you know that something happened in the year 2000 to this cult where dozens of bodies were found. There was a big fire, but you don't know the lead up to that. You don't know what happened. So in these cult chapters from the year 2000, we are leading up to that point and kind of seeing how they got to that point. On the other hand, the present chapters is following, once again, Dora Rodriguez, and like I said, she is working for this online magazine, and this guy who works with her is picking up this story because it is about to be 20 years since the fire from the cult. And the 20-year anniversary is coming up, and people that survive the cult are beginning to get murdered. And so he wants to investigate and kind of write this big tell-all story about it, but nobody knows that Dora was a part of this cult, and so she decides to go along so she can kind of fib the facts and hide different things so that nobody will figure out that she is also a survivor. I loved this so much. So I feel like it is a little bit slower, but because you're alternating chapters, everything is so fascinating. I was so fascinated by the 2000 chapters and by the present chapters. It was very thrilling because in either story, you know that it is building up to something big, and so everything is just on the edge of your seat. It is never boring just because you're like, something big is gonna happen, and I know bad things are coming. I love this so much. It was such a great cult book. The cult aspect was super fascinating, and it really made you realize, like, the whole reason Dora joined this cult is because she had nothing, and she finally found people that welcomed her and loved her, and so it just shows you how easy it is, or it can be, for someone to like join a cult, and then once you start realizing that things are a little strange, it might be too late. I really loved it. The end scene was really fast, and so it wasn't my favorite ending, but I still really enjoyed it, and I actually gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I think as of right now, it is one of my favorite books of the year. It's gonna be one of my favorite thrillers. I am so pleased that I really enjoyed this, considering I had no idea going into it. I assumed it was a thriller based on the title and the cover, and it was just so great, and I had a great time reading it. So now that I'm done with that, I have one more book for this vlog, and that is Indie Mayan Spring. I have a hard time introducing a book in this vlog because I'm like, once again, I have no idea what it's about. So I got like just 10 pages in yesterday. I decided to start it, and I assumed this was a fantasy at the beginning of this, but now I'm not so sure because there's like pages in this. Let me show you. So like this title page, and it says Germany 1452. So is this like a historical thing? I don't know. I guess since I know nothing, I can't really tell you, but I will let you know when I get further into it. I am planning on reading some today. Hopefully I get to at least page 100, and then I can kind of tell you what we're doing, where we're going. But yeah, hopefully I enjoy this one, since the first one I DNF, the second one I gave 5 stars, so we're all over the place, but we'll see. So I'll update you when I have something. Okay, I come bearing bad news because I have decided to DNF Indie Mayan Spring. This is by Matthew Skelton. I got 115 pages in, so I read this much. And it's not a bad book, I'm just not very interested, and I don't want to spend time reading a book that's just going to be mediocre for me when there are so many books that I want to read. I'm definitely pro DNF. I used to not be, but this year I have DNF'd so many books just because I just want to read books that I love, and if I'm not going to love it, then what's the point? But it's not a bad book. So I haven't told you what this one's about, and honestly, I'm kind of struggling with what it's about. So we do follow 2 timelines, and one timeline is like shorter. We only get it every so often, and the other timeline is like most of the book, it seems like. So the first timeline we get is in like the 1400s, and what we know so far is these people are trying to create a typing machine so they can basically create books that are typed instead of handwritten. And so what they want to do is be able to type up the Bible, and it would just be like this massive feat. And so we follow this boy, he's like the apprentice, and then someone comes in and he brings in this massive chest that has like these snakes coiling. These look like dragons, but there's like snakes coiling, and apparently the chest opens if you like give your blood to the fangs of the snakes or something. So there's some magicalness going on in there. And the other timeline, the bigger timeline that we follow is the present, and that one is set in Oxford. And we follow a little boy named Blake, and he is in the, I believe it's, actually I don't know what library because there's so many libraries at Oxford, but he's in one of the libraries at Oxford, and he discovers a book on a shelf that is actually blank for most people, but he can read it. He can see words on the page, but for everyone else it's blank. And so there's like this big mystery going on, like why can he read the words, and what is going on with this big chest? How does this timeline relate to the 1400s? So that's kind of interesting, and there would be moments where I was like, okay, I'll keep reading because it's interesting. And then 2 pages later, I'd be like, I'm not really interested. I think I'm going to DNF. And the fact that I was so on the fence about whether I should DNF or not helped me decide that I'm going to DNF it. But like I said, yes, I got 115 pages in, and there's like 380 something, so I just didn't want to continue. I believe this one is middle grade because Blake is like 12 years old, I think. But it was cool because it is set in Oxford, and I've been to Oxford, so I was able to picture like some of the buildings and the libraries they were talking about. But yeah, just not for me. So I'm still going to put this vlog out even though I DNF 2 of the books, because when other people do vlogs like this, I will watch it regardless. Like, I don't care if people DNF a book, love a book, hate a book, I will watch it. Doesn't matter what happens. But yeah, so let's go ahead and recap what I did. Merlin the Lost Years by T.A. Barron. DNF this one. Once again, not a bad book, just not for me. And then The Night We Burned, 5 stars, loved this one. I'm glad I got a 5-star read out of this. And then Indie My Own Spring, DNF, once again, not a bad book, just not for me. So ranking wise, I'm pretty sure we can tell that The Night We Burned goes first. Honestly though, I think I was enjoying Indie My Own Spring better than The Lost Years. The Lost Years was just a little bit boring because it is the beginning of a 12-book series, so there wasn't much going on. But yes, The Night We Burned, definitely recommend that one. And it is slower, but I feel like the pacing goes really well with the story. And just because, you know, both timelines are building up to this massive plot point, I don't know, the pacing is like perfect for it. There's also a trigger warning for eating disorder in The Night We Burned, which I forgot to mention before, but that is part of the book. Also, our main character is a runner, which I'm a runner, so that was fun to read about, although she didn't do it in a healthy way, but it's still nice to see like running in a book. But yeah, that is it for this video. All the books in this video I did not know about going into it, and I think sometimes that's a good thing, but other times you might want to know something about the book that you're gonna pick up, at least before you buy it. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there's a book that you own that you know nothing about. But that is it for this video. If you have made it this far, go ahead and leave like the flame emoji, because The Night We Burned, fire. But that is it. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!